Islam at a Glance is brought to you by
रिस्को कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉरपोरेशन। मकानात की नए सिरे से तामीर हो या घर और दफ्तर की है रेनोवेशन का मसला, तो रिस्को कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉरपोरेशन की खिदमात हासिल कीजिए। 100% इंश्योरेंस के साथ मुकम्मल काम, मुनासिब दाम। रिस्को कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉरपोरेशन। फ़ोन 9166429006।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah ahda wassalatu wassalamu malla nabiyya ba'da. Our topic of the day is pluralism in Islam. Pluralism means we are going to discuss the situation in which there are multiplicity of various types of people. That is what we are calling pluralism, how Islam deals with this situation. So we will deal with this topic in two parts. First, we will talk about the situation in which the Muslims are engaged with other cultures, other religions, the people which are not in the fold of Islam, how to engage with them, what are the rules of engagement, and how Islam treats that. And in the other part of our talk today, we will talk about the intra-Islamic pluralism, that within Islamic society there can be various tendencies. So how Islam teaches us to deal with that situation. So pluralism, when we are talking about it with the perspective of interaction of Muslims and Islam with other cultures and other, you can say, in today's world we talk in terms of countries. There are certain countries which are Muslim majority countries, there are other countries which are non-Muslim majority countries. And in both situations, in the Muslim majority countries, there are non-Muslims living in there. And then in the non-Muslim majority countries, there are Muslim communities there. There's so many examples, so many. And within that setup, there are various differences as well. So in the Western literature or history, when they start treating this subject of pluralism, in terms of when these cultures are living together, different kind of people, the rules of engagement, as I said, there need to be some rules that will govern their interaction, their relationship. So the first thing they start with is from the city-state of Greece. So those states, they developed some rules to engage with each other, but that we cannot say that it was an international setup. It was kind of a regional setup within the Greece society, where there are city-states, and then the rest of the world, they used to think of them as barbarians, and for them the rules of engagement were different, and within the Greece were different. And when it comes, the next step is the Roman Empire that the Western historians talk about. In that society as well, the law of relationship between nations, all that developed. But mostly it was among the Christian states, the laws and rules and regulation to engage between the Christian states of Europe. That was basically it, that started from the Roman civilization. It was not until the 1856 or so, I guess, that first time the Europeans recognized another country which was non-Christian country, and it was Turkey, and they started making some rules, some treaties, in which they considered that nation also as part of the community of the world. And it was the second one to follow was Japan, that they started in 1905 when the Japanese defeated the Russians in battles, after that they were also recognized as another nation outside of Europe or outside of the Christianity. These two nations were the first one. And then slowly we come to see that the other nations of the world were also, and then League of Nations that was around the world wars, and United Nations and all that. So the community of various nations grow, the variety started increasing. So, but when it comes to Islam, the foundation of Islam is based on the principle that the mankind are all equal, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I have created you in shauban wa qabaila lita'arafu. So I have created you, khalaqnakum, in nations and tribes, so that you would know each other. You will be, just for being to understand what the other people are. But if there is any one who has a better status in the eyes of Allah, it is because of his taqwa or his God-fearing. How much God-fearing he is, that's how his status will be defined. Not on the basis of ethnicity or language or color of the skin and all those things. These things doesn't matter in Islam. And it was from the very beginning that this fundamental aspect of Islamic society was established. So we see that in the Islamic scholarship, the first book that contains a chapter on this relationship of various nations is in the book of Zayd ibn Ali, who is the son of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He wrote the book Al-Majmu', and in that book there is a chapter on this topic. So that is the beginning. And that was about 120 Hijrah, only 120 years after Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He collected the information from the sources, that is Quran and Sunnah, and put it in his book in a chapter. And later on, Imam Hanifa developed it further, and also his disciple or his student, Ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, he is the person who wrote a very comprehensive book on this topic. And actually he wrote two books on this topic of Sir al-Saghir and Sir al-Kabir. The Sir al-Kabir is the detailed dealing with this topic. So that particular book is a masterpiece in this regard, relationship between various people. So what I'm trying to point out is that in Islam, from the very beginning, I'm talking about 120 and later on 150, Imam Hanifa, and 180 and all, I'm talking about the Hijrah sons. This topic was dealt with in detail, and the books are available for Muslims, giving them all the various scenarios, how to interact with other cultures, other people. So the pluralism is in the body of Islam. The pluralism is something that is we see in the Sunnah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he made treaties with people living in Medina, for example, Jews, and he made treaties with the tribes which were polytheist tribes. So he made those treaties, and the Muslims were living in a plural society, and they defined the rules of engagement that were acceptable to everybody. And so much that Muslims were not in majority in Medina initially, and there were Jews living, and there were polytheists living. So they came up with the constitution of that state together, and they all accepted Prophet ﷺ as their leader, and the rules were defined. So in a plural society, Islam developed. The first Islamic state developed like that. Moreover, it's not only tolerance and accepting the other culture, but even cooperating with the others. It doesn't matter if it is outside of the realm of Islam, the people, you can cooperate with them for for the betterment of humanity, for the good of mankind. We see that in the statement of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he used to remember one of the treaty that he witnessed, that is called Halful Fuzul. In Halful Fuzul, when he was in his teens, very young person, he attended that and he used to remember that treaty. And in that treaty, they agreed that we will support the weak and we will not let the powerful exploit the poor and the weak people. And we will stand up for the rights of the people. This is the human rights charter. And Prophet ﷺ used to say that if there will be another charter or another treaty like that, I would like to participate in that even today, when he was a prophet. And he used to say that this treaty is more, in attending this kind of meeting is much better for me than the red camels. And red camels is like symbolic of something very precious in Arabia. So he used to like that you collectively do some efforts to help the oppressed or help the weak people and come up with a human, a charter of human rights. That's what I call it. So we see in this, in the whole life of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this is what we are, the teachings that we get from. And that's how the Muslim society developed in a pluralistic way, cooperating with people for the good. Even in Quran, when the people of Najran, there were the people of the book, the Christians, when they visited the mosque of Prophet ﷺ, and then he let them stay inside his mosque. At that time, the revelation of Quran, it says that, "O people of the book, come to something which is common between you and us." So it is always finding something common to develop on that and bring something good for the society. It is true that on the name of pluralism, we cannot say that we accept everything and we are not going to promote or we are not going to talk about our own belief and religion. There can be differences with other people. It is fine because Allah has given the choice to the men. So He's going to choose. He's not going to be coerced into any particular way of thinking or a particular way of living. So after understanding that when Allah is not forcing people to go in a particular way, how can a man can force the other men to go in a particular way? So no coercion in Islam and no oppression or no forcing of your religion on the others. But it doesn't mean that you should not promote. It doesn't mean that you should not talk about something which is available with you, which is peace of Islam. Which, yes, it is true that in Quran you will find the criticism of the people of the book for, number one, not adhering to the unity or to the Tawheed, unity of Allah, this concept in the correct way, and just corrupting this concept. And also, for the reason that they were not able to keep their message pure from any corruption. The message that Allah has given that got corrupted. So Quran, yes, it criticizes the people of the book, but at the same time also give us the ways and the rules and of engagement with those people, so much so that even intermarriages with the people of the book have some special status with respect to religion for Muslims. So there are certain things that are only restricted to the people of the book. But other than that, all the people of the world with various nationalities, with various cultures, with various religions, Muslims are supposed to work with them. And within Muslims, the other aspect of it, I said that I will talk in two different ways. One is talking about the interaction of Muslims with other Muslims in terms of a state or in terms of various societies. But the other one is the multiculturalism or pluralism within Islamic society. So whether it is an Islamic country or whether it's a non-Islamic country where Muslim community is developed or developing, if there are various kinds of people As we said, that Islam doesn't look at your color of your skin, your language you speak, the tribe you are born in. There is no superiority on these bases. And these kinds of concepts, wherever we see, it should be opposed. It should be dealt with, it should never be allowed to prosper. Because we have seen in our times how these kinds of thinking become very dangerous to the humankind. We have seen around the world war that the Nazism and all that happened in Europe, and then they discriminated against the Jews, they discriminated against the Slovak, the Russians, and they treated them as being subhuman, and they didn't feel any bad by doing that to a human. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, that you are poisoned with certain ideology, with certain wordings, with certain statements that tells that there are certain people, a group of people, which is superior to the others. And when it comes into your mind again and again, we listen to this rhetoric again and again, then the man's mind get affected. And on the other hand, the other people are demonized and are declared as subhuman or inhuman, so that if you do some brutality to them, you don't feel bad about it, because you don't think of them as another human being. And this has happened in our lifetime. What happened in New Zealand very recently was the manifestation of the same thing that I am talking to you, that slowly you poison the minds of people with this discriminatory thinking. That's the same thing happened with in the near past, for example, on the basis of a skin, when the people were made slaves just because they don't have a particular type of skin, so skin color. So these kind of thinking and these kind of feelings are very dangerous. So whenever now I'm talking to my audience and telling them that whenever you see, I'm trying to give some kind of advice to my listeners, that when you see or hear these kind of thinking, that any particular group of people, any nation is being discriminated or being shown to us as being barbaric, or it happened with the Muslims in the last 30, 40 years for various reasons, that they are being demonized, so that anybody can do an act of violence against them and don't feel anything because they are not human. They think of them as inhuman. So these kind of things, for any culture, any nation, whenever it is said, it should be opposed. And the Muslims should be in the forefront of opposing any such tendencies which discriminate among the people. So Islam is all for pluralism. You see, I have been giving you examples of this times of Prophet ﷺ. In those times, just look at that small society that he has established in Medina. Who was with him? Salman al-Farsi was with him. He was not from Arabia, he was from Persia. Suhaib al-Rumi was with him. He was from Roma, or from the western, from the European side. And then Bilal al-Habashi from Africa. So all the known continents of the world at that time, the representation of that continent was present in that small state of Medina among the very close Sahaba of Prophet ﷺ. So much so that for Salman al-Farisi, he said that he is from my Ahl al-Bayt. He used to call him from my family. So this is what we learn from the Sunnah of Prophet ﷺ, accommodative. So even today, when you see in many Western countries, America especially, you see the people in the masjid with various ethnicities. The one next to you may be from Somalia. On the right side, maybe one from Egypt. Next to him is from India. So this is the beauty of Islam, that it accepts cultures in it, and its masjid is a place where everyone come together and gets into a unity. So this is about the ethnic and linguistic differences, but even the differences due to opinion. that in the interpretation of Quran and Sunnah, there may be some differences. We need to deal with that. We need to, we can have differences, but the differences should stay at a certain level. It is not going to take the other person out of the fold of Islam. They are all Muslims, but these units with different tendencies and different opinions, they have to stem from there and meet at a unity, right? Transcend from them all these tendencies, various kinds, in the fiqh, in the understanding of Quran, Sunnah, and they have to meet at a unity and unity of Allah, and below that is Prophet, and all after that is the differences can exist. And this is, as in the beginning we said, that Allah has given us a choice. It is for us to take one way or the other. We are not going to force anybody to follow our way. It's not like that, my way or the highway. And the last thing to end my talk is that the Muslim Ummah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it is kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are the best of the nations. Why? Not because you are ethnically or your language is something superior. No, because ukhrijat linnas. You were created for the mankind, for the service of mankind. So you cannot live by yourself. You have to live in a plural society. You have to understand the benefit of living in a plural society. And also Muslim is always, one of his character is that he is a da'i. He is taking the message of Islam to the others. So when you want to get your message across, you cannot do it when there are barriers in between you and the other. It has to be a communication always established with the people of various thoughts within Islam and outside of Islam. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين والمؤمنات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Islam at a Glance was brought to you by
प्रिस्को कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉरपोरेशन। मकानात की नए सिरे से तामीर हो या घर और दफ्तर की है रेनोवेशन का मसला, तो रिस्को कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉरपोरेशन की खिदमात हासिल कीजिए। 100% इंश्योरेंस के साथ मुकम्मल काम, मुनासिब दाम। रिस्को कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉरपोरेशन। फ़ोन 9166429006।